Hello everyone and welcome. Whether you're a brand new player or confused by one of the game's many unexplained systems and mechanics, I hope this video can help you out. I also have a text guide for this game, so be sure to check the link in the description for a refresh on info in this video plus more. This game is actually split into two storylines, Sky City and DBS Lab. PC players start with Sky City and then unlock DBS Lab, while consoles do the opposite. Mobile players only have access to Sky City. Footage shown in this video will be from Sky City, but all mechanics work the exact same on the DBS Lab story. We're going to be starting out extremely basic, so you may want to skip ahead. I've put chapters in the video so you can easily move around to what parts you need. Characters in this game are commonly referred to as evotypes or prototypes. For PC and console, you will get prototype analyzers to unlock more characters as you progress the story. Don't worry too much about which character to pick, as you'll be able to unlock all of them besides DLC characters. DLC characters such as Rachel, Bullet, Hazama, and Naoto must be purchased instead of being unlocked with analyzers. Crossover characters such as Icy and Prisoner have their own special missions you'll unlock as you progress through the story. On mobile, you will need to buy the currency with real money. This difference is due to mobile being free to play, while PC and console are full-priced games. Crossover characters also do not count towards the mobile requirements that require a certain amount of characters to complete. If you're stuck on which character to get, there will be a link to a video talking about their playstyles in the description. It was made before Naoto, but it has all of the other characters. Now it's time to move into combat. If you've ever played Smash Brothers, this game has a pretty similar control concept. You start off with an attack button, which will do a basic combo, and a skill button, which will use MP for a special move. You can also perform a dash, which will give you immunity to any attack that isn't marked with a purple exclamation mark. Using the attack button after a dash will also give you a different attack than the normal combo. Something important to remember about the combat of this game is that there are no predetermined combos or rules to grounded combat. All attacks can follow each other in any order. Aerial combat is a little more complicated. You can only use the attack button a certain amount of times before needing to land, but this will change depending on the character. Potentials are one of the most important systems in the game. They allow you to either unlock entirely new moves or improve your existing moves. Every move has multiple upgrades, and there isn't a limit to how many upgrades you can have per move. You just have to find each of them individually. By default, you can't see the other upgrades until you hit the Show All Effects button. If you don't like any of your current choices, you can also refresh them to get a new set of potentials. Just be careful, as these refreshes are shared between other systems, like shops and tactics. As an example, let's look at Lambda's Universal Enhancement with all effects enabled. Green text is what upgrade you'll get if you select the current potential. White text is an upgrade you already have, and gray text is an upgrade you don't have yet. You'll also want to keep an eye out for hidden effects at the bottom. Hidden effects are unlocked by having a specific combination of potentials. In this case, we get a hidden effect by having both the first and second upgrades for Universal Enhancement. You won't be able to view hidden effect requirements until you've gotten them once. Afterwards, you can press View Training Details, and then view hidden effect on any of the moves. The game never explains this, but you actually get a stacking 20% damage bonus per potential that you get. This damage bonus only counts towards your character's damage, not towards legacy skills or tactics. You can see your total bonus in the Potentials tab of the Training Details. Tactics are another type of upgrade you can get for your character during runs. They are split into two main categories, Elements and Activation Type. Activation type refers to what triggers the tactic. The options for this include Attack, Skill, Dash, Legacy, and Summoner. This is important to keep in mind, as there are a few rules when it comes to tactics. You can only have one tactic for each of the different activation types. For example, Skill Cold and Skill Chain Lightning cannot be used at the same time because they both belong to the skill activation slot. You can also only have one tactic for each specific tactic name. For example, there is an option for both skill cold and cold attack. However, you cannot use both of these at the same time because they share the same name of cold. Next is where things get a little more complicated. By viewing the tactic codex, you can find a tactic tree for every tactic in the game. The first column is usually referred to as a base or tier 1 tactic. This is where you can check if a tactic has multiple versions. In this case, Light Spear has both a skill and legacy version. Moving to the right, the next column is referred to as tier 2 upgrades or tactics. Here, you will only be able to select a single option out of all the choices. Once you do, the others will not show up anymore during a run. Next is the tier 3 upgrade, which will only be a single option in most cases. Finally, we have red tactic requirements and red tactics. Red tactics are similar to hidden effects of potentials, where they require 2 specific tactics in order to activate. You will also have to find the red tactic just like any other tactic once the requirements are met. Red tactics require you to have the tier 3 upgrade for the main tactic, which in this case is Light Spear. You're also required to have a second type of tactic, which is Dash Thunderbolt in this example. Once those conditions are met, the red tactic Thunderbolt Light Spear will have a chance to show up when selecting light tactic spaces. While the community, myself included, generally refer to these as red tactics, the official in-game name for them is double tactics. So if you ever hear people talking about red tactics or double tactics, they're the same thing. When you finish a run, whether you win or lose, you may have the option to select certain tactics. If you don't get this option, your character rating was too low, which is just a point system based on your potentials, HP, MP, and tactics. The tactics you pick here are used for a system called legacy characters or optimized avatars. When you start a run, you can select any legacy characters you've saved from previous runs. This will let you start the run with a bonus skill and passive from that character, as well as a few tactics that they had during that run. Keep in mind that you cannot select tactics at the end of the run that you got from previous characters unless you're playing on extreme difficulty with one of the entropy bonuses. So for example, we'll die as Noelle and select Holy Mark and Stable Mark as tactics. After character selection, we can find this Noelle. The first thing is an active skill that you can use during combat. Next is a passive effect, and finally are the 2 tactics that were chosen. So if we start a run with her selected, we can use Shroudfall, and also have Holy Mark and Stable Mark right away. Mind levels are this game's form of meta progression. They can be accessed from Neo or T after some story progression. You can get currency called AP to level up your mind level from story missions and playing runs. Leveling it up will provide you with extra max HP, additional healing from mixtures, and mind crystal slots. Mind crystals provide a wide variety of buffs that you can customize before each of your runs. Each crystal has its own unlock requirements, which you can check by selecting it. Crystals can also be leveled up to a max of level 3. In order to do so, you'll need AP, as well as another currency gained from killing bosses. We don't have time to go in-depth about any sort of meta for Mind Crystals, but here's a recommended setup for new players, if you have no idea what to pick. Ultimately, it's up to you which ones you want here. Mind Crystals are useful, but they're not going to make or break a run if you don't run specific ones. If you want a detailed list of crystals I recommend, check out the Mega Guide that's linked in the description. One thing I do want to mention here is that due to the way damage increases that aren't final damage work in this game, I consider defensive and utility options to be much stronger than offensive Mind Crystals. All Mind Crystals that don't say final damage only use the base damage of your attacks before any other damage bonuses, so they simply don't scale well as the run progresses. Since potentials also give you a 20% damage bonus each, you also end up quickly overpowering most Mind Crystals just by playing the run. Bloodthirst and Exhilaration are the only 2 non-final damage ones I'd recommend, but these are also not beginner-friendly. This game features a very customizable difficulty system known as entropy settings. These can be freely changed before you start each run. On normal difficulty, entropy settings will allow you to make the game easier. By completing a run of normal difficulty, you can unlock advanced difficulty. Advanced unlocks a new area and final boss, plus some new types of spaces to find during the runs. It also unlocks the core mechanic of the entropy system. By completing runs at higher and higher entropy counts, you can gradually unlock more settings to pick from. Now here's the neat part of the system. You aren't increasing the game difficulty just for the purpose of making the game harder. By reaching certain entropy thresholds, you gain buffs for that run as well. You can view this in the top left side of the entropy menu. Something that's not explained well is that these buffs increase in value once you start to pass 50 entropy. So for example, the Off to a Good Start buff gives 200 exchange points at 5 entropy, and then increases to 400 exchange points at 55 entropy. When completing an advanced run with at least 50 entropy, you will unlock Extreme difficulty. Extreme changes which boss you fight at Alpha Sector, and adds a new final area after that. Other than that, the buffs in the top left of the menu work the exact same way as Advanced, they just give different effects sometimes. However, Extreme also introduces mutations in the middle left of the screen. These must be bought once, and then can be toggled off and on freely afterwards. These tend to change the game rules or unlock new mechanics, but do also come with a downside. I'm not sure how much the damage increases, but the health scaling increases by around 20% per mutation by the time you reach the final boss with 100 entropy on. So if you have all mutations on, the later and final bosses will have around double the health as 0 mutations. If you're struggling to win a run of Extreme, I'd recommend trying to turn a few mutations off. Finally, let's talk about some of the entropy options I recommend avoiding most as a new player. HP recovery reduced per elite enemy will be difficult to deal with until you get good options unlocked and upgraded from Mind Crystals. Time limit will be up to you and how comfortable you feel, but for learning the game, I recommend just keeping it off or keeping it high. Hiding space info isn't something that's necessarily difficult, it's just more annoying, so I never feel like playing with it on. If you don't mind it, it's an easy way to increase your entropy though. Maximum HP being reduced each stage is an absolute death sentence when you don't have mind levels upgraded. Debuffs in this game range from being not very noticeable to suddenly causing you to have to avoid multiple new sources of damage. I recommend slowly learning to play with this one on, but when you're learning the game or new characters, you probably want this off. I think I've covered all of the basic game systems now. I won't be going into basic gameplay tips in this video of what to do during runs or what happens during runs, as that would be long enough for its own separate video. If that is something you guys want to see, let me know in the comments and I'll consider making it. Also, if you have any additional questions, or if there's something I've missed, feel free to leave a question in the comments, and I'll try to get back to you on it.